Are you trying to find a job? Welcome back to After Hour Happy Hour. We are your chaotic but cathartic co-hosts. I'm Jamila.
I'm Vicky. I'm Sharon.
So, for today's episode, we are talking all about how to get a job, how we interview, co-networking, all that good stuff. And we thought about doing this episode because we are all kind of in the midst of a transition, or we are transitioning. So, we just thought that we share our experiences with you right now because, the last time we all kind of did a professional stuff was almost 2 years ago when we came out of college. So this is a nice little update and kind of sharing what we learned in the process of, recruiting, getting a job, pivoting industries. So yes, so yeah, keep sticking around and we'll talk all things professional today. Whoa.
Please take what we say with a grain of salt. We're speaking from experience and not professionals. So take with it what you will, But we can kick it off with where are we at now currently? Job, what did we go through? I don't know. All the juicy bits.
I'm at the same company as I was. I work at Amazon.
Woohoo! You're an Amazonian.
Is that what you're called? That's a pretty cool name.
Exquisite.
She's very underwhelmed, as you can tell. Jamila?
So from our last time, kind of we ever talk about my professional side, I was quitting my job, or I had quit my job, and then I was in Korea for 2 months pursuing content full time. But in that process, I just realized that I still kind of wanted like more of a career in marketing, but just in a different industry, in an industry I'm interested in, which is entertainment, media, or music. And doing that in addition to doing content. So right now, I am currently at a Chinese entertainment company, which is really awesome because we get to work on some really cool projects with like artists that I actually listen to and stuff. And because it's a Chinese entertainment company, my Chinese has exponentially gotten a lot better. And it's a really small company, like compared to where I was at before. So I get to wear different roles, like wear multiple hats. So I've been really enjoying it so far.
I think it's the funniest thing because they advertise this job as basic Chinese, and then Jam would like show us like conversation sometimes because she's like, "Oh, give me ideas," and I'm just like, "That's full-fledged, like all Chinese, and there's not like one word in English in this." And she's texting in it and like having to listen, and I'm like, "That's wild."
No, the other day I asked Jam, "Oh, do you guys use Slack?" And she was like, "WeChat?" I was like,
That's how you know it's an Asian company. As for me, I am currently at an agency where I do UX design. So that was my initial background. That's what I studied in college is product design, UX, UI. That's what I'm doing now at the agency. Basically, I make like a bunch of landing pages for different clients. And by that, it's like if you see an ad on Instagram or Facebook and you click that buy now button to something, it'll take you to a website. And so I build out those pages for each client. We can talk about how we got our jobs because we all kind of had very different approaches to how we got to where we're at.
"Sure, I can start off." Clearly love this conversation, by the way. I'm just kidding. I love my job. I got this job because I interned at AWS or like Amazon my third year of college, and then I got a return offer. But my return offer was basically for another team, which is like Alexa, if you know Amazon. So yeah, I got this job through my internship, which is why a lot of people or professional networks in college emphasize the importance of having an internship during your third year because it can help you get that return offer, and your senior year you can kind of take it easy if you want to sign that offer. So yeah, that's how I got mine.
For me, with my old job, that's also how I got it. I interned third year and I got converted to full time after I graduated. And then with my current job, honestly, I can't say if I got lucky, but I was just on LinkedIn a lot. Like I'm on LinkedIn, or when I was recruiting, I was on LinkedIn all the time looking for jobs, and I was applying to a lot. And then I think one day I just was looking, I stumbled upon one of the posting. It's just like project manager, and then had Chinese on there, and I was like, kind of like whatever. because I wasn't like sure, and then it kept popping up. So I was just like curious one day in the car and I clicked on it and I realized, oh my God, it's an entertainment company. Basically, one of the projects that they did before they hired me was the Bam Bam and Golden State Warriors collaboration. And I was like, oh my God, this is like my dream company. And then that's how I found it. When I started job searching on LinkedIn, it was kind of like hard for me because I was like, oh, I don't know what companies to look for. I knew I wanted entertainment media, but then as I kept doing it, it just like LinkedIn starts to know your algorithm or your preferences. So then like smaller companies would start to show up, such as the one that I'm working at now. So then it just takes a little bit of time for it to like refine your searches for anyone out there who is like trying to pivot industries or find smaller companies within that industry to break into.
For me, I actually got referred by my old manager. So before Korea, I had an internship as well with Doe Lashes, which is a beauty company. And my manager then moved companies. And when she found out that I was back from Korea, she like messaged me and she was like, "Hey, you're back. What are your plans?" And then she was like, "Yeah, my new company needs like a UX design. Can you like follow through with an interview and everything?" So she was like my step in, and then I just went through with the interview process and got the job. I highly advocate for not burning your bridges unless you absolutely think that like you have no need for any connections, because I didn't think walking out of that internship, I was like, yeah, I knew I wasn't going to get hired full time, but I didn't think my old manager was going to be like, "I remember you. Do you want to work for me again?" It's kind of crazy.
I would say that one thing I did, I guess that helped my case, was I reached out to the recruiter on LinkedIn, and then in my interview, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I saw that you reached out," and it was to, I think maybe to a Chinese company, when they see that you reach out, they view you as like, oh, very, the way she said was
Proactive.
aggressive, yeah, but like proactive and
Oh.
stuff. And I also did that with other companies that I want to like learn more about too. But I feel like that method is definitely more effective towards a smaller company, at least from my experience. Because by the bigger companies, it was just like more of a networking call and didn't really help me get to that next step.
Yeah, I feel like if you're looking at smaller companies, which is what, 50 to 150 people, maybe less, that those size companies, it's easier to like cold apply and cold email people because they have almost like less applicants. So they're more open to seeing what are the options versus if you're applying to like, I don't know, Amazon, Google, Facebook, like what are the odds that like this like 1,000 employee company actually refers you to the right people? We can talk about the interview process for each of us. Like, what was the interview like, and then how did we prep for it?
For Amazon, I didn't have like a recruiter interview me. It was just a panel. Amazon's very like frat like almost, where you need to be what's called a bar raiser to interview people. I think there were three or four people who weren't on my team. So they're just like on whatever teams, so that they have like a non-biased judgment about you.
What is a bar raiser?
Somebody who sees if you can raise the bar for the company. It's Amazon, bro.
Sounds so crazy.
Anywho, I actually think the first one might have been a one-on-one conversation with someone, 45 minutes, and then the next round was with like three or four people where they kind of bounce off each other. Someone's writing notes and stuff like that. So it's two back-to-back 45-minute calls. But personally, for Amazon, they're very big on what's known as like their leadership principles. It's basically like the foundation of what the company runs on. So things like insist on the highest standards, like that's one of them. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm talking about this. So it kind of, if you prep your interview around their leadership principles, it shows that you kind of know and care about the company. And so I remember I based a lot of my answers around like what kind of leadership principles I had. If you have a video interview, obviously like you can't really look down at your notes. I know Jam uses like the transparent notes thing. I'll let you talk about that because I didn't use that. Back when I was in college, I booked a room in my library and I wrote out all the leadership principles on the whiteboard in front of me and kind of wrote bullet points in case I ever like needed to look on it, so that when I'm interacting with you like on video, I'll be like, "Oh, yeah," I'll casually just look up and be like, and then kind of refer to it. So I liked having like visual representation of some sort, but that was like my interview process for Amazon.
So, as a designer, like if you're in the field, you have to prove that you know the skill. So, as part of my process, I had a design challenge. So I got a little lucky because I was referred by my old manager who kind of already knew my working style and working ethic. So there's already trust there that I could do what I needed to do. So I didn't have like any intro call. It was literally she messaged me and was like, "Hey, do you want this opportunity?" I said yes. So she forwarded me the design challenge and had like 2 days to finish the challenge. And it was just she gave me a prompt on like, this is a client, can you build out a website and like kind of showcase your process for it? So then I worked on like that project and I got lucky because I didn't have to talk through like my process, or I didn't have to explain how I walked through that process. I think because they are kind of can tell by how I worked and stuff. After I finished and submitted the design challenge, I basically was hired at that point. I had one more phone call at the end, but it was like basically meeting the team and who I was going to work with. So at that point, hopping into that call, it was just kind of like unspoken, "Oh, you're hired. Like, if you like us, let's sign the offer." So it was super quick. I think the turnaround for me was like a week that I just did intro call, design challenge, and then got hired, all super quick. But I think I give a lot of that to already knowing the manager. So there's trust there.
I'll talk about both of my recruiting experience. The first one is with my old job. So it was at Walmart. I don't know if I ever said that. But basically, I also went through the conversion experience where I went from intern to full-time, but mine definitely was not as intense as Sharon's. What we did was that we basically had one project that we worked on for the entire duration of the internship. And then at the end of it, you presented to like your VP or whatever leadership group that your team is on. So like for me, it was a marketing organization. And then after that, they go through this internal process like, hey, do we want to hire her? Do we want to convert her to full-time? And then basically if they agree, then that's how you get converted to full-time. So for me, it didn't have like a bar raiser or really another round of interviews.
Oh wait, that was my interview for my internship.
Oh.
Sorry. But it's probably gonna look similar for your full time.
And then in March 2022 was when I started recruiting again. And honestly, I've never really recruited ever since I got that full-time job. So coming into it, it was very like new to me again, because recruiting for internship is very different than recruiting for a full-time, because I feel like when you're doing internship, you don't really care about the position just as much. You just want that experience. Where when you're recruiting for a full-time job again, you already have some sort of experience and people do have higher expectations of you from what you do. So you want to find a job that is more suitable for you, especially because I quit. So I wanted a job and a company that I really wanted to work at. And in terms of the interview process, I applied to so many companies. I applied to probably 80. And then I probably got like a lot of rejections. Some have not even heard back yet. And then I got maybe a total of like 3 to 5 interviews. And then it always more or less starts off a recruiter call. They just want to get to know you basically, and then ask you if you have any questions, and they tell you about like more about the role and stuff. And then in this stage, I would say that just be yourself. Definitely, prepare, because sometimes they do give you like technical questions, but for most part it's behavioral. Next rounds, usually it goes into kind of panel interviews. Usually it has like the hiring manager or whoever is on that same team, and then could be more technical or is still behavioral. So for me personally, I had like behavioral interviews with the hiring managers and stuff. And then also have some technical ones that were lined up towards the end where I would talk to like product managers, because I'm in product marketing. So product marketing and product managers are very closely aligned. And that was the more technical style of interviews.
What's like a technical thing that you have to do?
Like a technical thing is not really like a project or anything. But the technical questions will kind of be like, hey, in this product, how did you measure the KPIs? Like KPIs. I'm like, shoot, how you measure the KPIs? How
Is
did
that like
you
the success rate of it or something? What's KPIs?
Oh, key performance indicators. Like, how do you indicate that this is successful or it failed? So for something like you're launching a new product, it could be, how's the awareness level? How many people know about it? What's the click-through rate for an ad? But if it's something more kind of like metrics, it could be how many people bought these products? What's the revenue for this product? So these are like KPIs. It really depends on what your project goals are. So it's a little bit more of that. So it's not like super technical, but it's just like you have to know these kind of numbers. And then for my current company, because it's a really small company, I didn't have a lot of rounds. For me, it was just like the first call in Chinese with the recruiter. And then the second call was with my hire manager. And then it was a good call. Like she got to know me. She asked about my experience. And then she gave me 2 take-home challenges. The first one is kind of changing, what's it called? Not redesigning.
Revamp.
Yeah, revamping their Twitter posts, kind of making it better. Like how can I make it better? And the second presentation was I had to mock pitch a presentation. So they sent me a presentation and basically they're like, hey, pretend you're pitching this to someone. And basically I did that. And then that was it. Then I got my offer. Yeah, actually I think in marketing, a lot of times they do a lot of mock pitches or they do presentations where they give you a task like, hey, how can you improve this? Or if you're launching a new product, what would you do? What is that your go-to market strategy? And then you have to present that in front of the group. Sorry, that was really long.
No, that's good. Very informational, which is what we like.
Do you want to go a little bit in depth with like design challenges, like maybe what you can expect or?
So they gave me a person who comes in and is like, this client wants to feature like these 3 products on the landing page. So can you build out like a whole landing page that highlights this product? Like what they really want to see is like, do you know how to prioritize certain buttons or certain layouts and things to make sure that when a person uses this, it's easy to navigate and you're like thinking of the best conversion rates. So is your button accessible to everyone where it's so easy for them to click and buy this? Like for my prompt, they were telling me specifically like this is a mobile app that you have to design, and like the biggest goal is that you want to convert people to eventually buy this product. So then how on your page that you are going to make will best produce those, what is it, answers? I forgot the word. Results, yeah, to like best give you those results. And so then when I build it out, I like already have experience in it because I used Figma and like all these different design apps in college. So it was like pretty simple build. I think most of the time I just looked up like different landing page examples, like best practices for them, and then kind of like converted that over to my challenge. And like while doing it, the biggest thing that I always get is like know how to explain why you put that there or why you wanted to do this versus like traditionally people did that. Like having explanations for everything that you do is really big in the design world because you have to explain why you decided to do it.
Were you wireframing the landing page?
Yeah, basically I was wireframing. I did like there's low fidelity and high fidelity, and so I did both. So I did like a low fidelity where it's like no color, no anything. It was like a grayscaled one. And then I went the extra mile and did the high prototype because I was like, oh, this kind of looks weird to just hand in a product that's like there's nothing on there. And so I did both, and I was like, yeah, I can explain why I did both and like the process of going from a very low fidelity, very plain to like the current like high fidelity prototype. But I didn't really have to explain it. They just like looked at my work. Do you guys have tips and tricks?
Oh, I'm marketing, by the way. I don't think I mentioned. I think the biggest thing is I know it can be hard in a professional setting, but treat the interviews like a conversation more than an interview. It's just kind of like a mindset thing because if you go in and you're genuinely interested about the company and like how the interviewer feels about the company and like their favorite and least favorite parts about the job, or just kind of treating it like a networking thing rather than, oh my god, they need, like, I need them to hire me kind of thing. I think that's really helpful. And in terms of interview prepping, I like to, because marketing is typically all behavioral, or for the most part from what I've experienced, and so it's kind of like how personable you are as a person. So I kind of just go through some typical like behavioral questions that I may think that they'll ask me, and then I try to not elevator pitch it. I try to be as personal as possible, like talk about who you are as a person, but also tie it into like a form of work that you've done in the past, or like how it can contribute to them when you're working at that company. I think that's the biggest tip for me.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Sharon said. One more tip, I guess, is using the Transparent Notes app. I totally forgot about it until now, but that app has saved me because basically it's just imagine the notes that you have in Mac or whatever, but this is transparent. So even if you're reading through it, it still looks like you're looking on screen to your interviewer. because it's literally just like transparent. So that's helped me a lot, but it also made me really reliant on it, which is not the best thing. But once you interview more and more, you'll get used to this kind of like the answers that you give and stuff. And I would say for me in my intro, because they always ask like, tell me a little bit about yourself. And because I had that gap from quitting and to Korea and stuff, and I know that they will probably ask like, what are you doing now and stuff. So I was very prepared to explain why I took that gap, what have I been doing in that gap, and what I have learned, and how that ties into why I'm interviewing for this company now. Like, why am I taking this next step to come back into the corporate world? So I think just starting off showing them that, at least for me, starting off showing them that, hey, like everything I've done is intentional, and this is what I've learned from it. And one thing that I always like to add at the end is just some personal fun facts. For example, I like to say that I'm a big people person. I'm an extrovert. I love to, hang out with friends, and I lived in Hong Kong. And I like to add that because I feel like a lot of people forget that an interview is like a conversation, like Sharon said. So they're very caught up in the professional side of things. They want to best present themselves, and then they kind of forget the personal side to them. So I like to add that in. And sometimes, that could actually strike a conversation.
Like, I'm not a good person to think of things on the fly. Like, I can't be like, oh my God, like, I'm from San Diego. Like, let's talk about this, you know? So what I do is they should tell you who you're going to eventually be interviewing with, or at least you should know. So I always stalk them. Like, any platform that I could find them on, I make sure to gather like data points on them so that I can like toss it into the conversation. Like, oh my gosh, like, you come from a film background. Like, how does that work with your current job? Like, kind of throwing in there. And it's like low key mentioning that like you stalk them, but it shows that you like do the research, you prepped for this, and you're like ready, and it shows like commitment to this job. It kind of helps when you look up like who they are, because it helps guide conversation too, and you could learn a lot from like someone's LinkedIn profile.
You guys took both my tips. That's it.
I feel like another good approach to interviews that I didn't get the hang of until I really started getting to interviewing phases is like, as much as you are interviewing for the role, you are also trying to see if you want to be at this company. So if you go into this conversation thinking like, oh my God, like I really want to be here, or like, do I deserve this? Like, don't think like that. Go into it thinking, okay, if I got this job, do I even want to work here? Like, what am I curious about? What do I want to see in my working environment? So that when you go into it, you kind of have this like confidence of like, okay, so if I'm here, what do I do? And it's like, don't be cocky about it, but also ask questions. Like, for example, for this agency that I was working at, like, I was really curious to what kind of clients they take in. It was like, was there a reason why they would take these certain clients over these certain clients? Like, I care about things like that. So when you ask, it also shows interest. Like, oh, they really do want to be at this company because they're asking questions about the company and stuff. But it's just like seeing if you even want to be here, especially if you interview for smaller companies that you don't know much about. Like, there's so many things you can ask them about the company. Don't fear rejection, because you will most likely get it. I think once you get numb to it, it just gets like indifferent. Like, you'll hop into an interview and you're like, I got this. And you hop out and you're like, well, what? I'm just on to the next. And I feel like I work best in that mindset where I'm just like, well, if I lose it, I'm already like whatever about it, because if I get hurt over it, then I get nervous during the interview, and then I do even worse. But if I go into it with a certain like level-headed like calmness, then I do way better, because I'm able to like really talk and think through my answers. Oh, I was going to say, I sent this to Jam and Sharon, but there's this tool that Google created where it's really cool because they like give main jobs, but also like a general interview question. And what you do is they'll prompt you with 5 questions that are like whatever interview process that you're in, and then you can record or type in your answer. And then after you finish like the interview process, at the end they'll either transcribe or look through what you texted, and they'll say like, you say these words too much, here are some other words that you can replace it with. And then like it's like an AI thing that helps you create the best form of answers to questions that they ask. And if you like repeatedly practice, then you get used to it, and like you won't ramble or like pause or stutter when you answer questions.
I would say also in interviews, I thought I was pretty prepared going to my first interview while I was recruiting, and I don't think I did bad either. But then as I did more interviews, I definitely felt like my answers got a lot more refined, or I was able to present myself a lot better, because more or less have been saying the same things over and over, so you know a better way to present these information. Also, the STAR method, I'm sure if you're new to recruiting or like in the recruiting role at all, you know the STAR method is really useful because it's really a good way to help you shape your answer in a very concise and to the point way versus you might be rambling about something and it totally throws it off course.
What the hell is a STAR method?
Bitch, you taught me the STAR method.
It's like situation. What situation were you in? What is the task?
I've never heard of that before in my life.
You taught me it because it was
No,
an
I
Amazon
didn't.
thing.
No.
But it's
Yes.
situation, task at hand.
Action and result.
Oh yeah, what action did you take and what were the
Oh,
results from
so
your
like
action?
SMART goals, basically. Or like SMART things.
Dude, I swear Sharon taught me that.
I did
Because when
not.
you were like peak recruiting, you taught me that. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. It's a depression kicking in.
I don't think I. Well, it's also been a really long time since I've recruited, so maybe. I don't know.
Got anything, Sharon Kim?
Ask your interviewers what they're looking for in their candidates. I think it generally like helps you get a better understanding of what they look for and kind of like phrases the situation of like, oh, how can I be that candidate for you?
At the end of the interview, when they ask me about any questions, I always ask, are there any qualities or qualifications that are not listed on LinkedIn that the hiring manager or the team is looking for? Because sometimes they spill a little bit more, and that's what happened with me. They're like, oh, this specific manager is really looking for someone who's like X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, just be a normal person. Wait, sorry. That doesn't sound good. Just like don't be a robot, basically is what I'm saying.
Yeah, don't read off a script. I feel like that's weird, almost. If you read off something that you prepared, even though they're asking something you prepared.
That's my thing. Like, I know some people can't read off scripts without sounding very like
Scripted?
robotic or scripted, right? But for me, it works really well because maybe English is just difficult for me, but sometimes I can't find the right words in time. So when I type everything out, like word by word, it helps me really well to do it. But obviously, this is just my way because I'm actually okay with reading things off a script and make it sound like it's not robotic. Like it still sounds like a conversation. But obviously, when they ask me questions that I'm a little bit more thrown out, I'm sure my answers aren't as refined.
See, word by word for me fucks me up because if I can't get to my screen fast enough, or if I lose my place, or they ask me something that is kind of like different than what I scripted, I black out. So I think it really depends on who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Honestly, just interviews will help you figure out where you're most comfortable with, and you'll figure out whether bullet points work for you, whether writing it out entirely makes sense for you. I think you'll figure it out if you're relatively new. Don't worry, practice makes perfect.
Or if you have like a close friend or family, practice with them. That's what Jam did when she had to present.
yeah.
We like hopped on a Zoom call and then I just sat there as if I'm an interviewee or interviewer and listened to
Yeah.
Jam.
And that was like super helpful because for me, that was my mock pitch deck. So it was really helpful to get another person's perspective. For example, like pitching to someone who completely doesn't know. So they could tell you, does your story flow? Does whatever you say make sense? What didn't make sense? So that was actually really helpful for my interview.
Or record yourself if you're shy. I saw somewhere where people are like, do 3 different recordings and then watch yourself with the audio off to see your body manner, and then watch yourself with the video off to listen to yourself, and then like the last thing is like everything off or something like that. I don't remember, but it's just like
Everything off. You
maybe
mean
not
everything
everything
on?
off. Maybe it was 2 ways.
Everything on.
Or yeah, everything on, and then you kind of
Ah.
like catch a lot of different things about yourself that you didn't notice before.
You'd be surprised at how many ums or likes you say. We notice it all the time on our podcast. So
Because it's a professional episode, I really try to be more articulate with my words and taking pauses where I need. Yeah, also if you're doing interviews, take pauses where you need to. Don't feel like you have to rush through your entire answer. You have to like rush all the words out of your mouth, because sometimes that's a problem I have. I'm just trying to talk so fast that I just need to remind myself, take a break, take a pauses where you need to.
What do you guys say is the hardest part about recruiting?
For me, it's definitely the mentality part of it. Because coming back into recruiting, I guess more or less I had a higher expectation because people are saying the job market is thriving, it's so open right now. There's so many jobs open. And I'm sure that's true, but I think it's also very competitive right now because everyone is like quitting their jobs. So getting the interviews was actually really hard, and then getting the rejection. To me, the rejection really felt like it was a stamp of my abilities, like, oh, you're not qualified enough. And I took it really hard with that first one that at a company that I really wanted. But then afterwards, like Vicky said, I just became kind of numb to it. And the second part is that I was trying to pivot industry, which was really hard, especially going into entertainment, media, or music. Everyone knows it's very competitive because it's such a highly sought after industry. So that part was just also challenging because I was just thinking, what can I do to get myself get my foot into the door? And I would like try to network with people, but some people just don't reply, or if they did reply, it didn't really help me get to that next step.
I think for me, I'm very different from Jam, where like Jam, you guys probably know by now, like Jam takes rejection and like people's approvals a lot seriously. I think luckily, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Just saying we have differences. I think for me, if I ever get rejected or something, it's not necessarily, I mean, sure, it might be because they're looking for someone more qualified, but I think maybe this is where the spiritual comes out. It's like it's not what meant to be, or that's what it's supposed to happen. Something else is coming my way kind of mentality is how I look at it. I think the hardest part for me actually is all the what ifs of like, what if this company looks good on paper, and what if I sign and I just don't end up liking it, or like what if this company, it's kind of like having to commit to one company for me is always the hardest because you never know how it's going to be. So, yeah, that's it.
I can see that. I think the design challenge is always the hardest for me because if you're a designer, you probably can feel this, but you never feel like your final product is good enough. Like no matter how many times you do it, if you look back, you're like, oh shoot, I could have done this better, or like this could have been that type of thing. And so like sending off my final quote unquote thing to submit it in is the hardest part for me because I'm like, okay, if I send it in, what if I want to change it? Or like, oh my God, I should have done this or that. And so I don't even have tips to like get over that. I think at most it's just like I tried my best. If it doesn't work out, it is what it is kind of the mindset I go with it. And like if I know that I put in my work into it and like I stay up all the time trying to figure out if this is what I want to submit, then that's good enough for me, even if it's not like perfection or something like that.
Shoot for progress, not perfection.
Was that at you yourself?
It was for both of us.
You're right. That's a good advice. Not perfection. Nothing can be perfect. Don't lose hope if you're introverted and you don't really talk to people. Cold emailing does work sometimes.
Also, whatever we talk about today, if there's anything you guys want us to go more in depth about, let us know. Or if you just have any questions, drop it in the comments, DM us. We just
Discord us.
Oh yeah, Discord. Oh my god, totally drop it in Discord. I'm super active in there. I basically talk to them every day as if it's like talking to my friends. But yeah, we just want to do a more kind of general episode about all these things. So maybe we didn't go like fully in depth into something that you want to learn more about. So, feel free to reach us outside of the podcast.
Know your worth, people. Oh, wait, I have a question that might be relevant to some people. Sometimes what people want to do doesn't pay as well as somewhere else. So in that case, how do you go about choosing stability versus what's the other?
Safety.
It's not
Risk taking, investing.
Oh, maybe like stability versus
Taking a risk.
Sure, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any advice? Any?
That's like exactly. Yeah, I feel like me and Jem are going exactly through that right now because we get paid ass. So.
I'm basically getting paid half of what I used to make.
Yeah, so how do you go about making that decision? Because you have to take into consideration. Well, like, okay, sorry, I'm going to answer on behalf of kind of like us. The thing is, Jam, you see it as like a long-term investment, right? if I was in your position, I also see it that way because for me personally, I know that I'm striving to make money through content. So my main job will not be the only source of income for me. So I would be okay with taking a job that like pays me less because it's a long-term investment versus some people who maybe like don't live at home, have to pay rent, may not have like another source of income, have to focus on this main job, but that they're passionate about but might pay less. So yeah, advice, stuff like that.
Because eventually, if I get converted to full time, or when I get converted full time in August, I will have to move to LA. And LA rent is really expensive. And I am making, like I said, half of what I used to make. So it is a big decision. But I would say that I am very fortunate enough that I have been able to save up from my last job, because I have got to live at home. So I got to save a good amount of money where it could be used as my safety net or cushion. But I definitely also did a lot of planning out. What's the maximum I can pay on rent? I like look at apartments and stuff, so I'm prepared. And then second thing is just, I think, just really sitting down and calculating what are all your potential costs are, and if anything, like over budget a little bit, so you're never, in the dangerous, hopefully, or in the danger zone. And then see if that's feasible with your current job. If not, is it possible to even pick up another job, pick up something on a part-time, and help add in that additional income? Because that's actually what I'm doing. Like I said, I am trying to do content. I'm also trying to be at a company, but I also have been applying for jobs with different YouTubers, such as editing or like podcast production, because that's something I also want to grow in, and that also could bring in extra income.
I feel like you have to figure out if it's worth it for you to make sacrifices, because like you're gonna have to make sacrifices. Like either you live not that bougie lifestyle, you give up certain things, you're gonna have to hustle really hard. When you're on that high of like, oh my God, I got this job that I really want, I'm really excited, like I want to take it, but like take the moment to say like, is it really worth it for you to go through all the struggle? Is it really gonna give you what you want? That type of thing. If the answer is yes, then proceed with it, work your ass off, but then also like set a time frame. Like how long are you going to be in this position till you're like, I should like really rethink my life? And once you have that time frame, it kind of makes it a little more feasible for you, because after this year, something's going to change. You're not going to be stuck stagnant in this position where you're constantly struggling. And if nothing changes after that time period, then you kind of have an answer of like, I should do something differently.
Damn, good job. That was really good. Wait, I just want to add one more thing. Yeah, when Sharon said that for me personally, I see it as an investment, is because I know ultimately I want to be in the music entertainment media industry, and working at this job really reaffirms it. So even though I'm getting paid really bad right now, or like not that great right now, I know that this is an industry I want to, and eventually I will get to a place where I can make more, or I am building connections to get to a later goal. So this is why I am willing to like take this risk and take this investment in my career right now.
You know yourself best.
Facts.
Know your worth.
If you got to do what you got to do, you do it, and then you ride it out. Sick. So that's what we have on networking. You guys always laugh when I close things out.
You're doing great, sweetie. Keep going.
Take everything we say with a grain of salt. It's from our experiences. Doesn't include everything and everything. Everything and anything. If you do have questions, DM us, Discord us. You know where to find us. And we will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.